welcome to another food video. Today we're going to be making Mughlai chicken. So let's find out what we're going to be needing today. Okay, so let's start with what we're going to be needing today. So for the marinade we will be needing 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon of red chilli powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, and we will also be needing for garnish 1 teaspoon of Garam Masala. We will also be using today 500 grams of chicken. This is boneless chicken. You can use boneless if you with bones if you would prefer. We've also got some ginger and garlic paste. This is about 2 teaspoons, and we'll also just be using half a lemon. So today we will also be making a paste which we'll be needing about 3 tablespoons of yogurt. We'll also be using a bunch of coriander and mint leaves. We'll also be needing about 10 to 12 cashew nuts and also about 10 almonds. We've also got a couple of chilies which we'll be using as well. We'll also be needing some spices for cooking. So we've got 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds here. We've got about 8 whole black peppercorns, 3 cardamom pods, 3 cloves, 2 bay leaves and 1 black cardamom. We'll also be using 2 tablespoons of full fat cream, and you'll also be needing 2 medium-sized onions. Let's start today's cooking. So to begin, we're going to be marinating the chicken. So the first step is to take 1 teaspoon of the cumin seeds and put them onto a frying pan. No oil needed. Just put it on a medium to high heat. We're just going to keep them stirring for about 20 to 30 seconds. Just be careful not to burn them, but you'll find there's a beautiful smell coming out about now. And what we're going to do is just put them in to a pestle and mortar, and we are going to now crush them and grind them into a form. So we don't need to be grinding them too much. We just want enough to break them slightly, just so that they continue to have such a nice flavour and aroma. That should be enough. So it's just enough just to break them a little bit. Can you see? There we go. It just smells very nice, and we'll just intensify that flavour later on. So now let's go and marinate the chicken. So let's start marinating our chicken. So we're going to take the cumin seeds, which we've just roasted. My pan was a little bit hot, so it only took probably about 15 seconds, but you just want to be doing it enough so they start to change colour and that smell comes out. So in they go. We'll also be taking our ginger and garlic paste. Our turmeric powder, our chilli powder, the salt, and the coriander powder. Okay, and I'll also be squeezing on the lemon, or half a lemon. Got a little pip there. Okay, so we're just going to give this a little mix. And then we're just going to leave this aside for about 30 minutes, but any longer is absolutely fine if you want to do this the night before as well. Just make sure all of those spices cover the chicken nicely. So I'm just going to finely chop the onions. Half will be used for the paste and the other half will be used as garnish. So just chop them as finely as possible. I always hate this bit of the cooking, it just makes your eyes burn. Your eyes begin to burn because my eyes are beginning to burn. Okay, so my onions are now finely chopped, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dehydrate them a little bit, get the moisture out because we want to put them into the oven. So I'm just taking about a couple of pinches of salt and I'm just going to let that absorb into the onion, which should then release some of the water. And it will just dry them out a little bit and it will just make them a bit more crispy and that nice sort of crunchy thin onion, so it's quite nice for garnishes, sort of brings another bit of texture really. Just squeeze them out and you'll already feel in your fingers that the water is coming out. Can you see the water gathering at the bottom of the bowl? Maybe there. So you could see the amount of water that's released from the onion just by putting a little bit of salt and sort of squeezing the onion. And I've literally been doing this for about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. So what I'm going to do, just to try and absorb a bit more of the water, is just to add it to a bit of kitchen roll. Before I put them in the oven, and hopefully the paper will just absorb a little bit more of the water. See. So I've got as much moisture out of the onions as I can, just by sort of pressing them with the kitchen foil. And now I'm going to use a tray just to sort of gently scatter them across. Now I'm using a pizza tray, but this is quite good because you get heat from the bottom as well, so I find that this tray works quite well. But just use anything that you've got to hand really. You don't have to do this stage. If you don't have an oven, you could, and you've just got the hob, you can just fry these down with a little bit of oil until they go a nice crispy golden colour, and that should also do the same job, but as I have this to hand, I think this works quite well. So they're just going in at a sort of 180 fan assisted oven, just for enough for them to start catching a little bit, drying out a little bit, and then we're going to fry these onions. So the onions have been in the oven for probably about 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, I've just had literally a drizzling of oil on a frying pan at sort of a medium to high heat, just to heat up. Whew. And I think these are pretty much ready. If you want to have a little look, you can see that they're starting to catch on the edges and they've dried out quite a lot. So this should be good to now fry. Are you laughing at my socks? My lovely outfit for today. It's very cold here and I needed some comfort. So the socks have made it to the video. There you go. Anyway, so the onions are now going in. So I've now just got the onions in the pan, and I'm just waiting for them to go a really nice dark goldeny brown colour. So just going to keep an eye on these, keep them moving a little bit until they turn really nice and crispy, dark. While those are frying, I thought I might show you my new favourite snack. They are salted and roasted sunflower seeds. My friend who's from Iraq introduced me to these, and honestly they are so Moorish. I can't get enough of them. So these are my snack while I'm cooking today. Keep an eye on these. Now she makes this look really easy. I'm not going to make this look very easy, but apparently you just sort of bite the edge because it's coated in a shell. She does this in one go, and then inside is the little sunflower seed, and honestly, they are just delicious. So that's my snack for today. Okay, so they are looking like a nice colour. They've gone very dry as well. So what I'm going to do is similar technique to the last, to the sort of the first stage of the onions, is to put it on some tissue just to get a little bit more of that moisture out. Here we go. So I'm just going to squash them down a little bit. And then sort of, oh, they're hot, separate them a bit just so that they can dry nicely. If you're familiar with the dish halim, it's the similar sort of onions you want when you're making the garnish for halim. But you're essentially just drying out the onions so that they become nice and crispy. So if you've got your own technique, I'm sure that one's fine too. If you're interested where I get my sunflower seeds from, you can get these just from any sort of local Asian shop if you're interested. But I do recommend, they're very Moorish. Okay, so let's get on and continue. So the next is the paste. So this is the 2 onions which we've fried. So half will be going into this mixture and then half will be left to garnish. And you can see that they've started to crisp up quite nicely now. So they are ready to be used. But also going in is, let's start with the yoghurt. This is the 2 to 3 tablespoons of yoghurt going in. We've also got the coriander going in, some mint leaves, most importantly the 2 chilies, about a handful of cashew nuts, and a similar amount to the almonds. That's about 8 to 10 almonds going in. And then we have the onions, which is about half, as I said. Should be enough. And what I'm going to do now is just blend these together. It's time to blend this all together now. I'm just using a very simple handheld blender. So I added just a tiny splash of water, just enough to help me mix this together a little bit. See? So it's finally time to actually start cooking the chicken now. So we are just going to use the same pan, save on washing up, but we're just going to need a little bit more oil. So just enough to coat the bottom. And then it is time to add the spices. So these are the spices we have, and that's the other 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, and then these other whole spices. So they're going to go in. And you want to cook this enough just so that the cumin seeds start to sizzle. You can see them coming along here, just so they don't burn. So just roughly for 30 seconds, a minute, depending on how hot your oil is. So you can already smell all those spices coming through, which is lovely. So it's just been 20 seconds or so, and I'm now ready to add the chicken. So this is all the chicken going in. And I'm now going to keep this moving and just cook this through for about 3 or 4 minutes for now, just so that the chicken stops sticking. Just be careful as you move it around that you don't break the chicken. That smells incredible. I've just got this now on a low to medium heat, just to nicely keep that oil at the same temperature so it doesn't get too hot and we burn the chicken. So the chicken has been frying for 3 minutes or so, and it's the chicken's becoming a little bit more firm, starting to turn white, and the smell is lovely. So next stage is to cover the chicken and just to cook it now on a low heat for about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to let that cook now. I'll get back to you then. So the dish now has been cooking for about 5 to 7 minutes. Time to take the lid off. It's looking nice. And it's now time to add the paste. So that colour looks amazing. Let me just get this. In goes the paste. And I'm then going to cook this for a further 5 to 7 minutes, just so that those flavours come out, mixes in well. Just to keep that heat going, I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit, just the yogurt was a bit cold in the water. Should be fine. So I'm just going to cook this through now. That smells amazing. Wow. So while that's heating up, Mughlai chicken is I hope I'm saying this right. Mughlai. It comes from the word Mughal anyway, and my husband likes to remind me on many occasions that his ancestry is from the Mughals, from the Mughal Empire. So this is a very loved dish in this house, but he's very fussy about it as well. And you know what happens when you get on the wrong side of a Mughal? Well, you know, research. You don't live very long. So pressure is on that this tastes nice and that I have a happy husband. So the chicken has been cooking nicely and it's reduced down the sauce, which is really nice. Just to make sure that the chicken is nicely cooked, I'm just going to add a splash of water. I'm going to put the lid back on and just cook that down for another 5 to 10 minutes, just so I know that the chicken is nicely cooked. So, put that back. Turn it up a little bit. I just wanted to say that there is no sort of right or wrong way of making this dish. It's done sort of people do it very differently in different households. This is just our take on this dish. So you might find a slightly different variation from somebody else, but they're all much loved dishes. They are sort of traditionally prepared on very special occasions, because it is quite a long process to make this dish. But I can assure you that the smell in your kitchen will just send your guests very hungry. So yeah, we'll tune in when it's done and cooked a little bit more. Yes, I'm eating. Just preparing the garnish as we're nearing the end. So let's have a look and see how this chicken is doing. Wow. That looks delish. I think the chicken is cooked really nicely and the spices have cooked through really well. The aroma is lovely. So I'm just going to add some cream now. So this is 1 to 2 tablespoons of cream. So just do enough to your taste really. But this will make it really luxurious and very rich in flavour and creaminess, which is what we want. I'm just going to fold that in now. And what we're looking for is for this just to cook down and for the oil to start separating a little bit. So when you start to see the oil on top, that's when you know that everything is cooked through lovely. The spices have cooked through. You don't want any sort of grainy, spicy texture. So that is what you'd be looking for just to finish this dish off and know that everything's cooked nicely. The dish is pretty much finished. As you can see, the oil has started to form on the top. You can see these little splotches of oil. We didn't use too much oil, so there's not a great deal forming on the top, but that is a good indication that this is now cooked through and ready. So I'm now going to spoon some out for us to try. It's now time to garnish, so we are just going to take a little pinch of the Garam Masala, just enough to dress the top, just like that. Little lovely dusting. And we're going to just now take the onions, add those. Looks nice. And I've also got a few cashew and almonds just crushed slightly, just to put on the top as well. And of course the coriander. So the Mughlai chicken is now ready, and it's now time to taste. Wow. That has layers of flavour. You can taste the nuttiness. It's creamy, it's rich. It's definitely spicy with all those layers of powdered spice we used. And I'll be honest, Amir has already had a little taste and he really loved it as well. So looks like it's thumbs up from the Mughals, which is great. So I am now going to eat this and have a very content evening. We really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you again next time. Take care. Bye. Better go to someone nice. That's the food dance.